You've made it to Chiro Hustle Live. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession. This episode is brought to you by Clothes for Chiro, Chiro Sushi, Barbara Eaton's 56-day chiropractic boot camp, California Jam, Move Well University, the Black Diamond Club, Pure Chiro Notes, the Chiro Dex app, Dr. Alok Trivedi, Chiro Spark, Chirogram, Chiropractic Wealth Management, 8 Weeks to Wellness, Integrative Freedom, and Element Mattresses. Let's hustle. Welcome to the Chiro Hustle live stream. This is a student edition. Today we have Andy Hawkins, who is out in Minneapolis, Minnesota, Northwestern Chiropractic School. I am Jim Chester. I am in the Grand Valley of Grand Junction, which I like to say was on the other side of the state from Denver, where no one lives. I really like it out here. It's really peaceful. People asked me early on, Andy, why did I move out here? I'm like, well, you know what? I'd kind of like to wake up and hear the birds chirping. I like to hear the natural sounds. And when you're in a city, you don't get to hear all the natural surroundings of you. So I came out here. Nothing's more than a 15-minute drive from anything, and I love it. So before I get over to talk to you, I'm going to introduce our sponsor today. That's Element Mattresses. They are a chiropractic bed company. So if you guys are looking for a better night's rest, reach out to Element Mattress, and they will be your go-to for a good night's rest. And they support everything chiropractic. So very congruent with what I do. Reach out to Bruce Brown. He'll help you out. So Andy Hawkins, how are you doing, man?
Doing well, Jim. How are you?
I'm a lot cooler now that we had such an inspirational chat before this interview.
Yeah, that was great. I've missed you, Jim. It's great to catch up with you again. So it's been a while.
Yeah, we saw each other at Mile High.
Yeah.
And actually, your interview was one of the most watched interviews from Mile High weekend.
Huh. Let's see if this one goes viral.
Well, I think that it was really it was cool. I met you before you became engaged. You had Molly out there with you. I remember we sat there for about 30 minutes and we didn't blink. We just talked about chiropractic and we talked about marketing. We talked about the future of chiropractic. And it was a really cool opportunity to meet you. And I think it's even says more about you that you actually got out to that event.
Yeah, we did the whole road trip from Minneapolis to Denver. That was a fun time, but you've got a great story, Jim. I really appreciate you. You're a cool dude.
Man, I appreciate it. I take that right to the heart. And vice versa, man. I appreciate you. I think that what I get a chance to do with you today is showcase a future leader in the chiropractic profession. And I think that so many times future leaders don't get, you remember back in the day when you'd collect baseball cards and they'd have a future star edition?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
See, there you have it. Future star edition, Andy Hawkins.
Chiropractic cards.
He doesn't really have a batting average yet, but totally a great prospect.
I like that. Hey, I was watching one of your Chiro Hustle videos and I saw somebody called you the first responder reporter of chiropractic. That's a pretty cool baseball card.
Ground Zero reporter Jim Chester.
Ground Zero, there it is. I like that.
Yeah, actually, that's from a chiropractic genius. His name is Dr. Dan Bay. He runs the Clothes for Chiro camp. And anything that guy says, he doesn't mince his words. He doesn't use words that he doesn't need to use. And very seldom does he give anybody an accolade that they didn't earn.
That's awesome. You earned it. That's for sure.
Hey, every day, I tell everybody every day we gain an inch if we want it. But every day we can lose it too if we don't pay attention to it.
So I like that.
Earlier we were talking about discipline, right? We were talking about discipline. So let's talk about your chiropractic why a little bit and let people know why chiropractic and where you come from, because I know you didn't come just out of the blue.
Yeah, let's do it. I feel like I won the lottery with the world we live in chiropractic, honestly. I do come from a chiropractic family. I always say I came from a chiropractic world. My dad's a chiropractor for 35 years now. So that's pretty awesome, pretty inspiring. He's still on fire, honestly. And both of my brothers are chiropractors. And I really, my dad did a good job of never really showing me that there was another side of things. I didn't really understand that. So I thought everybody was chiropractors when I was young. So I just kind of lived my life and pursued, I went to 8 different undergraduate schools and played on 2 different basketball teams. Just kind of went all over the place. And then I grew up listening to a lot of Reggie Gold, a lot of stories by Reggie Gold. And one time I was driving to see Molly, who is now in chiropractic school, my fiance, and I listened to a Reggie tape, and I stayed up the entire night, and I was like, gosh, that defined everything I know about chiropractic and like what I've been living, and I need to share this with everybody. So that's the day. I didn't graduate undergrad. I just decided, I'm going to chiropractic school, and here I am, 23 years young. So
good introduction into your why. Now I want to ask you, how did you pick your school, and what was one of the main deciding factors for you to go the route you are at Northwestern?
Great question. My brothers went to Northwestern, and I'm from New Ulm, Minnesota. So it's like an hour and a half southwest of Minneapolis. I love Minneapolis. For those that aren't familiar, we have a rocking chiropractic community in Minneapolis. I could name off 100 chiropractors, Jeff May, Jeremy Fowle, truly just hundreds of really great chiropractors. And they're all mentors to me. And as a student, I couldn't be more grateful for that. As a student, I think it's all about just making connections. We spoke about how your business doesn't start the day you graduate. It starts long before then. And creating connections that you can lean on, anybody, Danny Knowles, whoever it might be, is so, I'm blessed, grateful, truly. So
next question is, why do chiropractic students have to look at themselves as upstart businesses?
I don't know what would happen if you didn't, to be honest, Jim, because, as a chiropractor, you're really leading a community of thought. And depending on your personality, whatever it might be and whatever you intend to do, whether it's associate or, open your own practice, you're going to have to connect and learn how to lead and change and shift paradigms. And like we mentioned earlier, it is a business and you need to keep your lights on. So balancing all those things where in school you don't necessarily, I think we have one business class a trimester. I think one of the trimesters we actually didn't even meet because our teacher didn't have us meet. And so it's like, where do you get your business knowledge? Thankfully, I have brothers, but not everybody is as fortunate to have family to lean on. So it's important. It's so important.
So basically what you're saying is with the ambitious give, love, serve attitude of chiropractic without a strong business hand, it's a challenging future.
Challenging, but so worth it.
Exactly. And that's just it, is if anybody has enough discipline, they can start, getting to that level of, I guess you have to put yourself on some type of how can I put this to make sense to everybody out there? You have to put yourself on some type of like chiropractors do, recommended treatment plans. So if you want to get somebody better through care, you put them on recommended care plan. And that's just kind of how we have to think about our day-to-day operations with our disciplines and with our agenda or whatever we put ourselves into. And I know going through chiropractic school, you guys are quite busy, right?
Yeah. Holy smokes. Yeah. Probably not as busy as the chiropractors out there owning businesses, but you have time to put in work. That's for sure.
But you have to bootstrap up and you have to, build yourself into a very systemized routine to where you stay consistent with your studies, you stay consistent with your personal life, you stay consistent with, building those professional relationships as you grow through it all. I think that's one of the points that most people kind of might not look at. They don't look at like, hey, we need to continuously build professional relationships as we go through school. I think it's so easy for a chiropractic student to put their eyes down and just pay attention to what's in front of them. And I think, from experience, I've seen a lot of chiropractors, go through this whole process and they don't have the best team that supports them as they finish school.
Mm-hmm. And to build on that, Jim, what I've noticed is chiropractors are so willing to help students. And for students watching, like, not to sound like, I don't know, just go after it. Reach out. I remember I was a T2 when I started the Adjusted Life with a friend, and we were calling Dan Sullivan and Liam Schugel, and we were just calling these people. I was probably saying things that I would never say now, but you learn and you create connections in the process, and staying connected is what chiropractic's all about. So we need to get good at that.
Well, here's an amazing comment from Dan Golden. He's one of the founders of Chiro Sushi. Just a phenomenal human being. He's had Luke and myself, the Chiro Hustle team, down to his house, and him and his wife Nancy have cooked for us a couple times and hosted us at their house. So he says that looks to me like we have another fabulous Dr. Ryan Bones in our midst. And I don't know if you know this, but Dr. Ryan Bones is the president of Chiro Sushi.
I actually, Ryan and I met at Mile High the weekend we met, and we really connected, Ryan and I. That was a lot of fun.
That's cool.
What a guy. Holy smokes.
And such an inspiration for how quickly he got out of the blocks and how quickly he started making an impact in his community. I think he could set, like, he says it's nothing really special, but he set a real blueprint, what he did, how he interacted with his community, and how he became the go-to, not only from a perspective of personal networking, but from a perspective of leveraging social media.
Yeah. I need to talk to Ryan and get some tips about how to get on a TED Talk by the time I graduate in November. So Ryan, help me out.
If you're watching, Dr. Bones, reach out to Andy and help him out. So I know you've done something really impressive up there. That's why I was kind of alluding to the whole idea that being a chiropractic student, sometimes we put our blinders on and we just focus down and we get through the numbers and we get through the schooling and, yada, yada, you pass boards. But you're going a little above and beyond, and you're doing something really special up there for the chiropractic students and for your group of influencers. And you're doing a philosophy group. Would you mind telling us a little bit about why you started that and how it's going right now?
Oh, well, thank you, Jim. I appreciate that. I always say, it's kind of a club motto, is that with greater awareness comes greater responsibility. So when you're given more, you got to give more. And so that's what I firmly believe in. But yes, the Philosophy Club, we're in Northwestern. Sometimes I'll just leave that. We're in Northwestern. Philosophy is a little bit lost, but thankfully we have a group. And like I mentioned, the area is saturated with good chiropractors. Matthew Alvord, Dr. Matthew Alvord has been a huge mentor of mine as far as the philosophy goes. And we get 35 people there week after week after week. We had 3 T1s this last trimester that never missed a week in 12 weeks. T1s. And they're already leading clubs on campus. We actually just launched our new branding for the club. I actually printed it probably backwards, but branding for the club.
It's straight on.
Yep.
That's cool. So, yeah, it looks great.
Our motto, this motto is going to stick around, and we're keeping your fires burning. We always talk about philosophy as the root and success as the fruit. And so that's what we're about, Jim.
That's cool. And so tell me how you kind of format the group on the meetups. How does that kind of roll as like a get together?
Yeah. So the first few weeks we kind of dove through the basics: inductive reasoning, deductive reasoning. What I typically do is I just throw in a Reggie tape, go for a drive, and get all the ideas from Reggie and write them down on a piece of paper, bring them to the club. And then after a few weeks, when we're all on the same page, we start talking discussion. We've had speakers come in, Dr. Mike Merkt. Would love to have you come in, Jim, at some point. And for the people watching, definitely join the page. I'll post it below or something. There's doctors from all over. Steve Tullius is posting on there, Liam Schugel, Danny Knowles. It's really good discussions on that page. So if you're interested in what's happening in Minneapolis, join the page.
Thank you for allowing me to be on the page as well.
You got it, Jim.
I'm always trying to post good interviews that are pertinent to the message of your group as well.
Amen. Yeah. If you don't mind, I'd love sharing an idea that we really hammer home for all the students watching.
Yeah, I love that.
Because it's sometimes tough to navigate. There's a lot of great groups out there, and it's tough to navigate where you should go or where you should allocate your time. And if you were to think of a pyramid, this is from Patrick Gentempo. If you think of like a pyramid with 5 levels, we talk about the 5 P's for prosperity. And so the bottom P would be your philosophy. So the foundation of all of it, everybody has one. And Ayn Rand, I think, said the level of contradiction in your philosophy is equally relevant to the amount of destruction in your life. So once you establish that philosophy, the next rung up would be your purpose. And we spoke about this. It's pretty cool that we get to choose our purpose. Dogs can't necessarily choose their purpose. So then once your philosophy is set, you get your purpose, then you get your psychology, and then you get your procedures, which a lot of coaching groups have really great procedures. But if you skip the first 4 rungs, you fall that much back to the philosophy. And then the last one is prosperity. So we focus a lot on that in Philosophy Club, just keeping our foundation right. So.
Well, I want to reverse back a little bit to our opening, and you said that you grew up as a Chiro kid. Let's talk about that experience a little bit so people know what it's kind of like growing up unsubluxated.
It's still not a life of roses by any means, but it's a heck of a lot better than what it would be without. Yeah, it's really living your life with confidence, taking accountability for your health is what I would say it comes down to. That your health is by choice and not by chance. We were extremely healthy, like no hospital visits or anything like that. And it's easy to take that for granted, but I'm really excited to see, because Scott, my brother Scott, just opened a practice here in Edina, Minnesota with a friend. It's a pretty big practice. And his partner, Ken, has a kid that has eaten nothing but clean food, has been adjusted since birth. Mom's been adjusted since birth. And that kid is ripped and truly like yoked. He's incredible. And I'm so excited to see what can happen when we tip the scales and more kids get that opportunity to heal. I'm excited.
Yeah, I thought that was a cool angle to take you on and a cool approach to take you on, because I know that it is a blessing to grow up in a chiropractic family. You know, if I had the choice, I would have been getting adjusted since birth. I didn't get adjusted till I was 16, and then it was kind of intermittently. But I will tell you this, and you might agree with this, it always made me a better athlete. Did you always notice that when you were getting adjusted, you could perform better athletically?
Definitely. I didn't know what it was like not being adjusted, to be honest. So I couldn't compare too much, but I know my dad had many athletes that got adjusted before every game, and they swore that they couldn't even perform without getting checked. And I mean, it's a no-brainer.
There you go. We have a good comment there. All love to Brantley, our Chiro.
Oh, there it is, Brantley. He's the ripped one. You got to check him out. Live Chiropractic. They post about him every day.
How old is this kid?
I don't want to butcher it, but I think like 16 months, 15 months.
You've made it to Chiro Hustle Live. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession. This episode is brought to you by Clothes for Chiro, Chiro Sushi, Barbara Eaton's 56-day chiropractic boot camp, California Jam, Move Well University, the Black Diamond Club, Pure Chiro Notes, the Chiro Dex app, Dr. Alok Trivedi, Chiro Spark, Chirogram, Chiropractic Wealth Management, 8 Weeks to Wellness, Integrative Freedom, and Element Mattresses. Let's hustle. Whoa! So just a little one.
Oh yeah. Yep.
That's super cool. That's super cool. Clean lifestyle, man. That goes a long way. And I think that that's something to be said about the chiropractic philosophy, but it's not only the philosophy, it's the thought and action. And when you can teach the philosophy to somebody, you can take those thoughts into action, and you can actually start living a chiropractic lifestyle, which I think so many people misconstrue, and they don't really know what a chiropractic lifestyle is. And one of those is, limiting the effects of outside end sources. And I think that chiropractic just takes the interference out of the body, allowing the body to minimize how much outside in force nature it needs. And I think that so many people, if they understood that more, they wouldn't run for the Advil. They wouldn't run for, whatever, concoction that some script has given them to take peace of mind in. But I think that the chiropractic adjustment animates the human body at a whole different level that most people don't even really understand how it can actually optimize them to be a more functional human. And I think that's baseline philosophy and action together.
Amen. Amen. And another concept we really discuss, and this came from Dr. Alvord, is that there's a promise of chiropractic and a potential of chiropractic. And when we talk about the promise, it's when you remove vertebral adjust with removing vertebral subluxation, you're better, like a little bit better than what you were. That's our promise. And then the potential is everything else. The sleeping better, the digesting better, the heart rate variability is, better regulated. But the promise of chiropractic is that when we remove interference, you never know what might happen. But we know that at least you're connected, and grateful for that.
Yeah, that's one of the first things I'll point people to is go watch Reggie Gold, Chemistry of Life, and you'll realize that a chiropractic adjustment has an impact on all facets of everything that you interact with. And when you are out of alignment, I can't tell you how your life is, but I can tell you when you're back into alignment, your body is going to function at such a better capacity. Like even Reggie said, your food tastes different.
Seriously. What a blessing we are in this world. It's bizarre. I know you might ask about the future of what I see about chiropractic, but I'd like to ask you now, because I know you're from Davenport. Mm-hmm. And what happened when people started? Do you know anything about the history of chiropractic when it really took off in Davenport?
I know historically that chiropractic had a compound effect from the fountainhead. I know from about 1960 on that once the chiropractic rugby started, when rugby started in Davenport with Palmer, I think that's where my historical reference knows that chiropractic took off, because then it had a world effect instead of a secular effect. So I know that once they started bringing in rugby players from all around the world, once they started graduating with chiropractic degrees, they'd go back home to their home countries. And that's actually how we seeded chiropractic around the world. So I do know that spot, but back to when you're referencing when it actually took off, I can't tell you from my reference when that would have been, but maybe you can help me fill in some gaps.
I'm blown away at the idea. I've heard that there are airports being built, and that's what I'm chasing. I want to tip those scales again. I know everybody in chiropractic does, and I'd love to learn more about how that happened the first time. So Simon Sensen or something, you should help us out. Tag some historical articles below, because I'd love to read more about it. Because I think we're close. I think we're close to tipping the scales. I really do.
Well, Todd Waters would be a good resource for that too. He's a chiropractic historian. He runs a chiropractic history page. That's a Facebook group.
Oh, cool.
Actually, when we first made our movie, he was one of the most supportive guys out there to make sure that we had our historical references right, and to make sure that when we put the movie out, that it was accurate. Cool. So Todd Waters is a good resource as well. And I know that you're doing something really interesting as a student, and it's kind of 3 years in the making. You're actually finishing up writing a book, and would you mind telling us a little bit about the genesis of your book and why it's important?
Yeah. I've never talked about this before on Facebook or anywhere, so this is a debut for Chiro Hustle. Thanks for asking. So yeah, I mentioned briefly earlier that I went to 8 undergraduate schools in 3 years, 3 states, 2 countries, didn't graduate. And at the time, I was really down, and it was really tough, as a lot of people go through adversity. I know everybody does. And I remember my dad, he has a big quote book. I feel like all chiropractors seem to. He has a big quote book, and he said, Andy, these things aren't happening to you, they're happening for you to learn the lesson. And that really struck home with me because it resonated with our philosophy. It resonated with our principle. I'm loyal to the principle. And so I actually began writing kind of a nonfiction style of that story. And after about a year of writing, I decided that, I don't know if you are familiar with this, but BJ loved to speak in analogy because he loved for people to come to the conclusion with what they have in their own mind, rather than like self-help where you're being told. Analogy and Socratic method is coming to the conclusion. So I rewrote the whole thing in fiction for 2 years, and now it's coming out in May. So I'm aiming to replace the places you'll go as a graduation gift with some tactical principles. That's my goal.
That's really cool. I was talking to a CEO of a company on Sunday when I was hiking, and he said that there's a few types of people. He loves idea people, and I love idea people too. But then he's like, most people can't take the idea from the notebook and put it to a plan. And the people that can take idea from a notebook and put it to a plan, most of those people can't put it to an execution element and knowing how to actually go full circle with the idea of implementation and then follow through. So I give you a lot of credence and thankfulness for actually taking the idea from the notebook, building a plan with it, and now getting to the execution phase. Because most even entrepreneurs, they grasp at they grasp at that, and I think that it's a very ambitious thing for you to do, especially going through a graduate school program.
Well, thank you, Jim. I really, really appreciate that. I want to hopefully inspire somebody watching that you can do it too. And my biggest advice is be you and listen, just listen to what is trying to be taught to you. I think it must have been Sisyphus that said, which of the gifts from your problems are you unwilling to accept? And that really struck home with me too, because anybody can write a book. It just takes a lot of time and it takes a lot of authenticity. You can't just YouTube like how to write a book because it won't apply to you.
And it comes back to one of those chiropractic words, innate. It comes from your innate. It comes from your innate potential. It comes from what you like to reference a couple times as BJ. It comes from thought flashes. It comes from having an unsubluxated mind above the atlas. And I think that that's one of the most important things is people have to be clear from here up when it comes to actually taking the evolution of something that's in their heart and mind and making it work, is they have to have an unsubluxated approach to the design of what they want, how they want to, I guess, maybe for a lesser word, attack it, and how they want to, for another lesser word, disseminate information to people. So I think that both of them are very important, but now you have to think about the end game. What is the end game for it? You said you want to replace one book with it, but what is the end game? Why do you want to bring this book to people?
That's a great question, and I really want to help kids that were in my position. That's what I want to do. I want to, grind and go to, of course, chiropractic first, but I want to go to different universities around the country and speak to their English classes and tell them that you can do it and that it doesn't take an English degree to write. I call myself a word architect because I just think of words as blocks to make a house of words. And I really want to inspire people to do what they love to do. I chased for a long time something that I didn't love. And I want to help students, high school students and college students alike, to have some principles to know what to look for. Because I don't have the answers.
Yeah. And I appreciate you being transparent and honest with our audience. Now let's go back to the mind of the chiropractic student. What are some tips that you might give to somebody that's early on in their chiropractic college career that might help them?
Great question. Go to events. That's all I can stress is that the school will sort itself out. It's not easy, but I would not be here today if I didn't meet guys like you, if I didn't meet Danny Knowles, and if I didn't meet other students. I have a crew in the philosophy club: Michael Reese, Christian Neldeberg, Axel Osborne, Sheena Yetter, the whole crew. These names, you'll be seeing them more. My brothers, of course, Danny Hawkins, Scott Hawkins. Connections. I was just speaking with a student the other week. Get connected. Get connected with Amped if you want. Get connected with Epic if you want. Get connected with anything that resonates with you, and so you can be authentic in what you need to learn. And you'll learn it because people want to help you. Chiropractors watching, thank you, because I feel eternally blessed and grateful that chiropractors take you under their wing. Danny Knowles invited me out to Boulder, Colorado to stay at his home because I reached out to him. And you can do it too. And that's all I'd say is get connected, get connected, get connected. Chiropractors are the most insanely awesome people on earth, truly.
That's special. It's really cool that you said that, and I also have a soft spot in my heart for Danny and Rochelle and Team Knowles. Actually, this morning I went to work out with a T-shirt that says "Well Adjusted" on it, and it was from a chiropractic screening event that I went and did for their office. And it has all the Knowles information on the back of for Network Family Chiropractic. So I have a well-adjusted T-shirt that I was lifting in today. So yeah, it's pretty cool. Good family.
Awesome. Oh my goodness, yeah.
So is it cool if I take a quick pause and recognize some of the people that have commented on our live feed with us today?
Yes, please do. Please do.
We had Michael Reese, one of the future stars of chiropractic, also that made thanks for the shout out, man. Great message. Go to events, get connected. That's his message right now. It's hot off the press, guys.
Hot off the press.
Barbara Eaton, let's put her comment up there. She's a huge supporter of the Chiro Hustle podcast. When I was doing sponsorship drives, I said, hey, I'm looking for sponsors. And she goes, I'm going to put in 3 times as much as anybody else. So she's been a huge contributor to the future of the show and to this movement with Chiro Hustle. So I can't say enough to thank her for supporting what we're doing and believing in the message of chiropractic through us, through excellence. So thank you, Dr. Barbara Eaton. And she says, hey guys, thanks for the group invite. Andy Hawkins, loving the student Facebook lives. Jim Chester, keep rocking, guys. Just full of support, full of love, full of passion. And she runs the 56-day chiropractic boot camp, which is another great group. If you guys want to level up your business savviness in chiropractic, reach out to Dr. Barb Eaton. Just such a wonderful influencer in the profession. I can't say enough about her support for what we're doing. Kat Sarah, she says, thank you for sharing. And Michael Reese, once again, nice job, Philosophy Club Prez. You're the man, Andy Hawkins. Keep up the grind. Jim Chester, love the content. Thank you, Michael. What a honor to have that comment. And now we have, I don't want to say the name wrong. Maybe you can say it. I'm going to put it up on the screen. And do you want to read that one? Can you see those, Andy?
That's Rosalie. Yeah.
Okay. So Rosalie says,
that's
so amazing.
Michael's fiance, sorry.
Oh, cool. She says, can't wait to get one of the first copies, way to go, of your book. So that's in reference to your book. So Rosalie has something nice to say to us. Dr. Adrian Laura, wow, she is such a supporter of the chiropractic message. She's actually a medical doctor. She says, your health is by choice, not by chance. Love it. He is not just articulate, he is intelligent and thoughtful. Expect great things. And that's a direct reference to you, my friend. So Dr. Adrian Laura, thank you for the kind words for Andy. And this whole process of doing shout outs to people, I love it because it gives people a chance to be recognized. And I think that everybody likes to have a little bit of, just because they're participating, I call this being social on social. So I think that that's highly important. I kind of liken it to, you don't go to a party with a group of friends and then just ditch them. That's kind of how I think about social media. If you're going to take people to the party with them, you want them to feel like they're part of the team. So I always like to communicate with people that want to communicate with us. Kat Sarah once again says, deep thoughts. I love it. And then back to Dan Golden says, looks like to me we have we have a former, we have another fabulous Dr. Ryan Bones in our midst. And that is direct reference to you once again. So, it's cool to recognize everybody on these Facebook Lives and to be appreciative of them supporting us, not only with their love and admiration, but their comments. And some of them are actually helping with the message of financial support, like Element Mattress Company, who is one of our sponsors, and Dr. Barb Eaton, and Chiro Sushi is one of our sponsors too. So we have a lot of congruent sponsors that are helping us keep these Facebook Lives going strong. So at this juncture, I want to ask you where you see yourself in the chiropractic profession in the next 5 years. I know it's a big question.
That's a great question. Since we were quickly on shout outs, I'd like to shout out Sean Dillon Lacey book too. I am in the Black Diamond Club as a student. For students watching, I highly suggest it. And then I am in the Samurai as well. So shout out Tristan. He's pushing boundaries and pushing this thing forward. So I appreciate Tristan. So that's pretty awesome. But in the next 5 years, right?
Mm-hmm. Where do you see yourself and the profession and you inside of it?
Cool. So my fiance, like I mentioned, is a T5 student here in Minneapolis as well. I plan to open a practice. My brother Scott just opened a practice 2 months ago here in Edina, Minnesota. And my brother Danny Hawkins, actually, interestingly, is a really talented educator. He's been practicing for a couple years now, and he saw really great retention, and he's rolling out a retention style of program soon. So that's big in our family. So I like to see it as, it's not just me. Where will I be? I have my family that I am basically one with, and so it's where will our family be, but where will chiropractic be? Is I think we're going to tip the scales. I do. Everybody is waking up. I have faith in our generation. As a 23-year-old, I'm a millennial. So I have faith in our generation that we're going to embrace what's logical and embrace what's making sense and embrace lifestyles that are truly, everybody deserves the chiropractic lifestyle. And so in 5 years, that's why I want to know where Davenport was, because I think we'll be beyond that. And that's optimistic, but we're going to do it because we have something that's true. And I truly believe that.
And I just had like the hair on my arm stand up. And, people asked me, for years now, why I support chiropractic and why I chose chiropractic to use my talents and treasure and time with. And I said that I tried to, force myself into other industries. I tried to force myself into even being a sports journalist. I love sports. And even to do stuff that was right in my wheelhouse. Earlier I was talking about I want everybody to hit home runs around me. I want everybody to hit the sweet spot every time. And, when it came to me making the decision to be a force in the chiropractic profession, I knew that I wanted to support something I believed in 100%. And being a non-chiro, I realized that it's not the most common thing for just the general public to believe in chiropractic 100%. So I wanted to take my thoughts and passion and intention and to wrap it into something that I thought that really needed some good media leadership. And I thought that chiropractic was definitely a little deficient with its leadership and media push, and deficient with the leadership and actually telling the authentic story. And like we said off of camera, not just from the voice of the greats, man. Reggie Gould's awesome. James Sigafus is awesome. Sid Williams is awesome. Billy DeMoss is awesome. But when we think about, the impact of what those gentlemen have done, they have a big voice. But who's telling the other stories? Who's bringing Andy Hawkins to the world? Who's bringing who's bringing other chiropractic? Who's bringing the women's voice to the front lines? I think that, when we think about it, chiropractic is a massive family, and we all have to find more connectivity. Like you said, get connected. And that's really what I think that we're doing with this chiropractic Chiro Hustle media company that we've started is we're getting more people like you to tell your story, connecting with a greater audience, people that might not eventually understand what it means to have a chiropractic lifestyle and to grow up in a chiropractic family.
Amen. Tide rises all boats.
It does.
So I appreciate heavily what you're doing.
Both of your brothers have commented here recently. Danny, your brother, said, "Great message, Andy. Love you, bro. And thanks, Jim. The chiro world is lucky to have you." And then your brother Scott says, "Hell yes, tip the scales, health culture."
Let's go.
So at this point in the interview, is there anything I didn't ask you that you'd like to touch on for our audience?
No, just the last word is chiropractors rise up and start making content. Start doing videos, even if you don't want to, because we have a message that will carry you. I spoke at my brother's grand opening, and Matthew Alvord came up to me afterwards and said, "You looked a little nervous. The only time you get nervous is when you're thinking about yourself." And so just keep the eyes on the message. And I'm a student, but I'd imagine that's what it's going to be like in practice too. And just, again, grateful for you, grateful for chiropractic. Thank you, chiropractors, for taking hits and grinding in the trenches.
Yeah, and I'll close it out with one of the groups you're in. Sean Dill's like, "Hey man, I don't like it in the trenches anymore because my shoes get dirty." But he's earned himself the position to be able to be an influencer now. He's earned himself the position to influence the entrepreneurial mind, the business mind, and the ethical approach to making a living while doing what you love. And I think that you were featuring that a little bit earlier, talking about being a student in the Black Diamond Club.
Amen.
We have one more here from Kibu. Do you know Kibu?
Yeah, he's my college teammate. What a guy. He is a class act. For sure.
He says, "Love the grind and passion, Andy, as well as the mission." So I think we can close it out with that. I'm going to send one more thank you to Element Mattress for supporting the Chiro Hustle podcast and media company movement. Love and appreciate all of you that have spent some time with us this afternoon on the afternoon edition, student edition of the Chiro Hustle live stream. I think we have Steve Hawkins, who just chimed in. Is that your dad?
That's my dad.
He says, "Great job, Andy and Jim." So last comment goes to your dad. But once again, thank you, Element Mattress. Thank you, Andy, for sharing your likeness with our audience and filling in the void at the Northwestern with a good philosophy group up there.
Thank you, Jim. I really appreciate you.
Love you, brother. Keep chiro hustling.
Love you too. See ya.
All right, man.
Thank you for listening to Chiro Hustle Live. Don't forget to subscribe and check back next week to continue hustling.